We have to view imagination as a home, that every time we close our eyes and we enter ourselves, we're returning to our home. But the nature of this home, the nature of your thoughts, the certain structure to your thinking is going to be dependent upon how you view yourself. If you view yourself in a very negative light, then it makes sense that you would have thoughts that would come from that position, because you're only encountering yourself inside your own self. So when we enter ourselves, you don't want to be a beggar for things. You can almost think of it as a person who is begging for peace. He walks up to a structure, he sees a tall building, and the building represents peace. And there's people at the top, and he feels that, they're rich in peace and he is not allowed in, and he's banging on the doors because he feels like he's begging for peace. We don't want to be that, because peace really does exist within us, and it's not something we have to earn. It's one of the detrimental ways of thinking, in my opinion, when it comes to having to earn something. Because if we do things in order to earn a certain feeling, it's strange that we would obstruct ourselves from giving ourselves the feelings we want to have. Because I think this idea of earning is what loses or makes us believe that we don't have it. Because when it comes to things like greatness or generosity or love or commitment, all these things are inside of ourselves. They're not something we had to earn. And if you take greatness, for example, greatness is something that we feel must be achieved, or we feel like we must earn it with with merit. But greatness is not meant to be earned. None of these things are meant to be earned. They're meant to be expressed. So whoever taught you or me that we had to earn and not express, then we're just proving to ourselves we don't have it, because you're trying to earn it. And you can come up with any reason why you must earn it, but it will lead you down a dead road or a dead end, because they're lies. And if you're in pain, you're probably convinced that you don't have what you really do have within you. Or it's even worse that we were taught that you had to earn it, and there's nothing you can do to earn it. No matter how well you think, no matter how controlled your emotions are, no matter how controlled your expressions are, no matter how well you played a certain activity, it's not enough. I mean, if you did charity work, you're still going to feel that you haven't earned it yet. And that's not the way Neville is trying to teach us. Neville is saying reverse it, to go to the feeling first and then let that express itself, instead of going and trying to achieve it. So you learn to sit down within yourself and you stop striving to achieve. That's why I made a video called Don't Try But Experience. Because to try to manifest, to try to gain, to try to earn, you're going to find yourself frustrated, because you're not realizing you already have it. You're not realizing you don't have to earn it. It's something that you have to learn to truly grant within yourself, that ability to actually have it and not try to have it. That's the difference. So you learn to experience what you are, not as in thinking that you're this outer man trying to become the inner man. It's that you are the inner man. Neville speaks so much about Jesus Christ. He always speaks about the Bible. But when you see it not as a man who existed 2,000 years ago, or something that became flesh in that sense, but when you hear the term that whatsoever you desire, believe you have it and you will, if that statement's true, then I should try to understand what that's saying and how I can use it to my advantage. Because instead of seeing it as Jesus Christ, you see it as the inner man speaking to the outer man. That the inner man's Christ. And he's speaking to you, the outer man, and he's telling you, this being within you is telling you to believe you have it. But that's not really the point of this video. I really wanted to make this a point that you don't have to earn things inside. It doesn't really make sense. It's already there. It's something we have to accept. We have to learn that we must express what's inside, not earn it or try to earn it. We must give or allow ourselves the ability to change inside without feeling that we have to carry the burdens of our current limiting state. You don't have to carry these burdens. Nobody said you had to carry the burdens of your current state that you dislike into the new one. It's something you're allowed to discard like a snake. It's something you're allowed to move. If you can just allow yourself to separate the self or the thinker and its thoughts or the self and its states, if you can allow that separation, you'll see that people are just expressing what they're thinking, but they're not those thoughts itself. And that's same for you. So if you can just separate yourself, you'll see that each state is like it's like an article of clothing for the mind. It's a certain way of expressing ourselves. But we are allowed to change. Nothing really is permanent inside. It allows us the ability to not question if we're worthy. It allows us just to change. It's not something you have to sit down and meditate hours on end to wonder when you're going to be worthy enough to accept something within yourself. Because in imagination, if you were able to conceive of it, if you're able to conceive of yourself the way you would like to be, imagination has already approved you. It's not something you have to wonder if you're worthy of obtaining inside. It's already been approved inside. And we can find ourselves questioning and asking ourselves so many, or just throwing judgments upon ourselves. And that's really what stops us from allowing this internal abundance to grow. It's these judgments and this comparison is what doesn't allow us to feel free inside, because we're so focused on the outside. We're not really inward focused. And when you go inward focused, you find yourself to be a being inside. And this being is it's not really visible, but you feel that you're inside. You feel like you're inside your own skull in a way. Neville said he would close his eyes and he would just pay attention to the darkness, into the liquid, he would call it. I find that to be a very good way to get into a meditative state, is you just feel like you're almost looking inside yourself and just rest in that position for a while until it allows you to feel peace. Once you start to feel that peace, I think it's wise from that point to either make a scene or hear something that you would like to hear. But truly, when you go to hear something inside yourself, truly feel that you're listening. Take upon the same way you would listen to somebody you admire or somebody really important to you, and you listen to them and you pay attention and you trust what they say. That's the same attitude you have to have inside, because that's what you would have on the outside. So you mimic what's outside within. And that's what Neville says, that, give it sensory vividness or make it like the flesh, because that's what's natural. That's what we're used to. So you want to mimic the outer world and you're seeing in that sense. But you don't have to have a perfective, a perfect type of scene, but you're allowed to, you can perfect it, but I would recommend you kind of go for the feeling or what is the scene trying to embody about you? It's about, what does it mean about you? And accept that. You accept it, you feel, whatever, if you feel like it's bubbling up inside, allow it to grow. Whether it's Neville would always say it's a relief for him. It's a deep, deep relief. For me, it's more of a peace. I feel a deep sense of peace. At times it can feel like a relief, but for me, I feel calmer. I feel so much more relaxed. And I don't allow myself to jump out of that state, because the only thing that's going to take me out of that state is myself inside. I may think a thought I don't want, but that doesn't mean I'm necessarily out of the state. I can just simply feel, because it's the feeling that manifests. It's not so much the thoughts, because you and I can have a million thoughts, but there's a general feeling that we feel about ourselves, and that's what is really what manifests in our life, the feelings that we dwell in about ourselves, the ones that we revert back to always. Whether it's good or bad, it's up to us, but there's certain states inside that you will find you do desire and you do want them, and you do have them because they're in you. It's just, you might have fallen into the idea that you had to earn it. You might have fallen into the lie that there's nothing you can do to earn it, or you're not worthy enough to earn it. But it's already in you. It's like love. It's already there. You don't really have to search for it. The more you go outward, it's just going to make you come back inward, because you're going to see it's not out there, that it's always been dwelling within you. So remember what Neville said, that he never barred himself. He said, I had no financial background, no social background. I wasn't known. I was broke and all of these things. He said that nobody knew me, but he assumed that he was known. So he didn't bar himself. He says, I find myself in some of the prestigious clubs, and yet I wasn't an academic. I didn't have an academic background. But he goes, I never barred myself. He never restricted himself on the inside. We're already restricted enough on the outside. it's best to learn how to free yourself from within. There's so many ideas that come into our lives. We have these gods that come in and they almost want us to kneel. I remember when I learned about the Catholic God, and it almost felt like it intruded upon my mind and it's asking me to obey it. And it almost felt like I did. And I find myself having these ideas penetrating my mind and telling me to obey them. But the choice really is ours of who we're going to serve inside ourselves. And learn to serve yourself. Learn to be a servant towards yourself. Learn to give towards yourself. So when I say that imagination is complete, and Neville tells us that man is all imagination, that means you're complete. It's just something, you don't have to earn it. It's something that is, because imagination is complete. How can imagination lack anything? So the next time you go to imagine, learn to not judge yourself and just experience, or lose yourself, as Neville says, lose yourself in the scene. So there's no more questions being asked. You're actually losing yourself in the thing you're hearing or in the thing that's being told to you about yourself. You actually lose yourself. You believe you have it. And learn how to believe in yourself. And if you practice this, I firmly believe that you will change the course of your life. It's something that you must try. You have to just test it. So when you go to imagine, lose yourself. And then you'll see the questions are and the judgments of yourself and the comparison are going to dwindle down. And then a peace is going to come up. And when that peace comes, allow it to grow. And you can learn to live in this new home. And that's how you change states inside. That's how you leave that present state and go into the new one. You don't need to bring any of that burden from the current one into the new one. So break the habit of barring yourself and learn to free yourself inside. I'm glad that helped.